He's waiting for me. He's down there.
What? Who?
Old farting ghost.
Wait, what did you say? Old farting...
You saying I have a choice between freezing or blowing up?
No. Push the green button. It's the starter.
Old farting ghost, you rank spirit. Wake up!
Huh?
Nothing. Just talking to an old friend.
Hello guys, Travis here, and today we are reviewing The Suicide of Rachel Foster, which is published by Daedalic Entertainment and developed by 101 Games. The Suicide of Rachel Foster is a narrative adventure, kind of like your Edith Finch's, that takes place in the year 1993 at a family hotel in Montana. The story's protagonist is a woman named Nicole, whose parents have both passed away, and her mother more recently. And her mother's last wish, which was talked about in a letter that was read at the beginning of the game, as you walked with an umbrella towards a casket at a funeral, presumably your mother's casket, was for Nicole to sell the hotel and make amends to Rachel's relatives. Rachel is someone who had reportedly committed suicide at the hotel 10 years prior. So because of this, because of her mother's last wish, Nicole returns to the hotel where she waits for the family attorney to show up to audit decaying hotel. But that hotel, the suicide, is not the only story that took place at the hotel 10 years prior. As Nicole's father was discovered to, there was a scandal that hit as Nicole's father was discovered to be having an affair with Rachel and got her pregnant, which on the surface would seem why Nicole's mother would want Nicole to sell the hotel. When Nicole realizes that a bad snowstorm is coming, she races to try to leave the hotel, but discovers that her car keys are missing, and she has no way of escaping. Her only contact with the outside world is with a FEMA agent named Irving, who assists her throughout the game using the first radio telephones ever built, big blocks, and trying to investigate the mystery that has more layers to it than what anyone thought.
Tell me you changed your mind. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, right. It's a direct line.
I can't find my car keys. My fucking car keys. I left them on the seat.
You sure?
Think so. Maybe someone...
No. Listen. This office is about 12 miles from the hotel as the crow flies. It's 40 miles by road. There's nothing or no one in between, and that's not a good thing right now.
God damn it, I knew it.
Oh, maybe the keys are in your pocket.
Wow, that didn't even cross my mind.
Let's start off with the positives of the game, and there will be some spoilers from here on out, so you have been warned, spoilers from here on out. But we'll start off with the sound design in the game being really, really, really good. The creaks and sounds you hear, will always have you turning and looking and being like, what was that? And it's just an eerie feeling because you're in a hotel by yourself with no weapons, no chance to defend yourself. And then you have all these random sounds you hear in the background, shutting doors, creaking floorboards, sometimes creaking floorboards that even sound like a small child, even though it's just a creaking floorboard. It just helps with that eerie feeling that really adds to the atmosphere of the game that I really, truly, throughout the game, really loved. Graphics in the game are really good, especially for an indie game. Very PT-esque. PT, rest in peace. I love PT, and I was so excited for what was going to come to that. Didn't happen. Silent Hills, I'm sorry. But people have taken those graphics from PT, and they've implemented that style into their games, and I love that. A lot of indie games are doing that. We need more of these kind of graphics in game. It really adds to the atmosphere, and if it takes an indie studio to do it, since a lot of AAA companies, for the most part, don't do that, or they try to money grab you, I'm all for that. Indie companies I will be happy to play all these indie horror games because there's a lot of good ones out there that actually put more time and effort in than some of these bigger companies with the money to do so. The voice acting is also overall pretty good. They do a good job of conveying their emotion, and the relationship with Urban and Nicole really builds as the story goes along. And it's just, I never sat there and I was like, I don't believe these people as characters. Sure, sometimes they say things that maybe don't make sense or wouldn't be something somebody would say in real life, but voice acting wise, it was pretty good. And the storytelling, for the most part, is pretty decent. There was some issues I had that we'll talk about later on, but for the most part, especially early on, the storytelling and the building and the tension they built early on was pretty good. But like I said, Nicole and Irvin's relationship really starts to build at first. Nicole was more standoffish at the beginning of the game, and then they build a good relationship as the game goes on, as Nicole leans on Irvin for assistance.
Collection of poetry, but it's got notes written in it.
Weird
Did
ones.
your father write them? What do they say?
Rachel.
Dates, notes,
Love you, Rachel.
thoughts. Listen to this. Today I saw Rachel. Or Rachel is sad. Or Rachel says she feels alone.
He kept a diary about her.
But the book was printed 8 years after Rachel's death.
Do you mean it's like he was talking with Rachel after she died?
As if he saw her.
Well, I mean, there must be an explanation.
Of course, there's an explanation for everything, and we've got to find it.
Now on to the negatives of the game. Even though the game costs $18 on Steam at least, which is a good price, a decent price, the game is still 3.5 to 4 hours long. So it's one of those quick get through. You know, you start it and you can get through it in one day in one decent play session. It shouldn't, unless you have things going on, it shouldn't require multiple play sessions. In the game, there are also 0 enemy types. 0. Nothing that is a threat to you or anyone else. There's not enough, even though we talked about the tension that happened early on in the game as the game went on, there's not enough tension because there is no enemies. There's a tension because the sound design being so great, sure, but they could have at least used ghosts or something, even if they weren't real ghosts. You know, just have ghosts flow around and whatnot, just to have more tension in the game to really make you feel like your life is in danger. Because sound design on its own is great. And it's one of the key things in making a good horror game. But it is not the only thing, and you can't build tension solely on that. Nicole finds items throughout the story that tease that people may still be in the hotel as the story goes along. Like a newly opened bottle of lipstick, like in the video you just saw. Videotapes from a ghost hunter show with people on the tape screaming that there is someone in the hotel.
Dumbass jokes. What does that guy do all day?
Who, you mean Leonard the freak?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. He's always locked up in the attic. You can hear him pacing up and down.
Well, better for us. We've got the whole hotel to do whatever
Not
we
sure why
want.
it sounds staticky.
Shut up a sec.
Sarcastic,
There's
sorry.
that noise again in the headphones. Sounds like someone was talking to themselves. I think you're smoking the good stuff. Is that what I mean?
Yeah, jerk off. Did you see his face? He's missing a couple screws.
Sounds like a woman's voice. A girl. What the? I'll bet living alone in a place like this all winter, he can't help but go nuts.
So depressing.
Danny, did you get rid of the interference? Fuck, I pay you to do your job, not jerk around. Fuck off, Stan. What do you think I'm doing? It's a mess here. Nothing's working. There's voices.
In my
Listen,
head.
Danny, cut the crap. I'm gonna go have a cig, and if you don't figure it out by the time I'm done... What the fuck are you doing?
I saw something!
Wait, you're not taping.
No, I mean, for real!
What? What the...
Someone's here, I'm telling you!
What do you guys say? It looks more like a... oh my...
Oh my god! It moves! Oh god!
I'm telling you!
Shit, no!
I can't find the keys!
Oh god, this place is
Where are they?
keys!
Keys, hold
There
on!
it is!
The light!
Fuck!
They're not very good ghost hunters. Yeah, like, we're looking for ghost. I saw a ghost! That door shut itself! That clip you just saw of the ghost hunters on the TV is more tension than you get in the entire game. But nothing comes from that scene. Nothing comes from that scene. Right? There's nothing you see. You don't see something. You don't run off screaming. Sure, it's probably somebody maybe dressed as Rachel, but you don't see nothing. The entire game, sure, you hear noises, you hear creaks, you hear all that, but you don't actually see anything. You don't see anything that you feel like your life is in danger. Sure, you find lipstick, you find a picture, you find that video, but you do not find anything with your own eyes proving that there is any kind of imminent threat that you should be worried about other than some voices that you may or may not hear, and the creaking and cracking that an old hotel would do anyway. There is also a lot of head bobbing when you're walking around. And so if you're someone that gets motion sickness very easily, and you can't stop focusing on it, then this may not be the game for you until they, or if they ever, give the option to disable the bobbing. And I know this is something that a lot of people have complained about in the game. It's the fact that you're walking around and every time you take a step, your head bobs up and down. If you get motion sickness, you're going up and down and up and down. And before you know it, you're throwing up everywhere and it's just not a good time. The map is also zero help. It is literally no help. You more pull it up to look at objectives, way more than you will ever pull it up to look at where to go. Because the map you pull up doesn't even have like a "you are here" mark. Now, of course, they're probably going for more of like a realistic feel, so you wouldn't pull up your map in real life and it'd say "you are here" everywhere on your map. It wouldn't just show up there. But at the same time, the map is confusing and hard to follow. Eventually, you'll just figure out naturally where everything is and all the places in the hotel, and you won't even use the map. I only pulled up the map to look at what the next objective was, because the map on its own, I couldn't follow it. I didn't even know where I was. It doesn't tell you where you are, and if it does tell you where you are, I guess I missed it, but I didn't see where the map said where I was, so I was the whole time like, I don't even know how to read this map. But like I said, you figure it out eventually, all the places as you're running around trying to find places, and so you're like, it's not a big of a deal towards the end of the game as at the beginning, but at the beginning of the game, you're more wandering about. The map doesn't really do much for you. There is also only one autosave in-game per in-game day. There's only one autosave per in-game day. So if you're halfway through a day and you decide it's late, you're going to bed, you better stay up later and finish it. Otherwise, you'll have to start back at the beginning of the day the next time you play the game. Now, this isn't a huge deal because the days aren't very long, but at the same time, if that's something that annoys you, just know that there is only one autosave per in-game day, so you'd have to complete that day before the game will save, and then you can quit and not have to rage when you turn the game back on. So from here on out, this is super spoiler territory. We're digging in towards the end of the game. So I know I said there was going to be some spoilers last time, but if you didn't listen, you made it this far, this is big spoilers into game stuff. So this is your final warning. If you don't want to know what happens towards the end of the game, if you want to play this game yourself, then now's a good time to tune out. Otherwise, here we go. So we find out that Irvin wasn't with FEMA ever at all. It was lying to Nicole the entire time, but he was living in the hotel the entire game and has been for years. It was the brother of Rachel. This was hinted at kind of throughout the game as Irvin knew too much about everything. He knew like small details like, oh, the freezer door's shut, and when it's shut it sticks, and all these small details that somebody that didn't live in there and wasn't in there all the time would not know. We found out that Rachel didn't commit suicide after all, and Nicole's mother murdered Rachel with Nicole's hockey stick and dumped the body while at Nicole's game, as she left for a few periods, and Nicole didn't know why. Mother made up an excuse, but she was actually dumping Rachel's body where Rachel's body was found. Finding out this information, Irvin then presumably goes off to die. He walks out into the snow. He's committing his own suicide, again, to probably be with Rachel. And then Nicole, there's like this long like blackout thing, and Nicole wakes up in her car with a hose connected from the exhaust pipe to the front window of the car. And then once you start the car, you have a decision to make, as you have to decide whether to live or die. Which I decided to live because I don't let my main characters die because I'm stubborn. And I'm like, I don't even care if I don't like you. I play with you the entire game to win. I didn't do it for you to die. You're going to win. Damn it. And so that's kind of the main story behind that, is it's like this interweb thing where Irving's just trying to find out the truth, right? So one of my biggest issues with the game is that Nicole seems to let her father off the hook, like her father did nothing wrong just because their mother is a murderer, just because he did nothing wrong. But he did. He cheated on her, and with a 16-year-old, so he's like a asshole and a fucked up person in two different ways. The mom definitely isn't innocent because she murdered a girl, but they're neither of them are innocent. You could more see at least where the mom is coming from, as she saw Rachel and her husband destroying their family. But it's almost like the story is saying, no, the father's not the terrible character, the mom's the terrible character, only because she murdered someone, so that means the dad did nothing wrong. But that's not true. It's not true at all. If anything, if the dad didn't cheat at all and commit a felony to do it, then this entire story wouldn't have even happened. The game tries to make you feel bad for him, but you just can't feel bad for him, you know what I mean? And the fact that he should have been in jail for what he did in the first place doesn't exactly, lean you in the I feel sorry for you direction. If anything, you feel the worse for Irving, whose entire story was just trying to figure out what happened to his sister, so he can stop hurting and finally get the closure that he wanted, because he knew there was something fishy about it, right? And I wish that they didn't go this route where they tried to make the father a sympathetic character. He wanted to find out what happened to Rachel also, which is fine, right? You want to find out what happens to Rachel, you go searching with Irvin as like his wingman to try to find out what happened to Rachel, fine. But guess what? He's not innocent in all this. He's a 16-year-old. He should be on a list, and he should be in jail. You know what I mean? Like, that's what should happen. So no, I don't feel sorry for him. It kind of gives that meh feel when you get to it, because you're kind of like, why should I feel sorry for this character? Why are you making excuses for this character? Of course, a daughter character will make excuses for a parent figure, or at least a lot of times, and I understand that. But in this case, it was confirmed. He got Rachel pregnant. The mom went off the deep end probably when she found out about it, killed Rachel. The whole family's fucked. But I feel sorry for no one but Irving, for me. And so I just hated that they tried to make it all sympathy towards the father, when that just should not be the case. So all that being said, with everything we talked about, with the story being mostly decent throughout, but with a bad message overall, with a really good sound design to add tension, but using little tension elsewhere to add to it, to build off that, and everything else we talked about, I think this was kind of tough as I was playing it, as I was thinking about it afterwards, but I think I will end up at a 6 out of 10. There is a ton of potential here, but they just need to refine everything and add some more tense sections that make you feel like your life is in danger, and not solely focus on the sound design to carry that, which in my opinion, it does a decent job, but it doesn't do good enough with everything else together. And like I said, the overall message that we talked about before towards the father figure, I just can't go any higher than a 6. They could even do like a multiple thing where they allow you to collect multiple clues to solve the mystery of what happened to Rachel, and make things missable so there's replayability to the game. And this game could easily be a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 if they just add more elements to it. Replayability, make you have to search for clues so you kind of unravel this mystery instead of kind of holding your hand through the mystery, stuff like that. Add more tension than just sound effects. Add that amazing sound that you had, but add more to it. Have more stuff moving. Have maybe you saw something out of the corner of your eye, stuff like that. I hope they do, because this is 101's, to my knowledge, first venture into this type of game. It's their only game before this was VR ping pong. So they didn't really have a lot. Maybe they did. I mean, I don't know who works for them, but based on what they'd have developed before this, they didn't really have a lot of experience with making a game like this. So this is a good first try. So I have faith that they will get better. But that being said, that is going to do it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate the hell out of it, and I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.